Facebook has got a secret that has made them one of the biggest companies on the planet, and that can also make you a lot of money. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush on this video. Bottom line is that Facebook has got a big advantage on the rest of the competition. So if you have some time in the next few minutes, I will break down the Facebook secret sauce in 5 major reasons. And the first one is great cash generation. And this, guys, this is actually so big and can only be met by much bigger companies. So on the screen you have the net change in cash for Facebook over the last 2 years. So as you can see, this is already a lot of cash, thinking that these are millions. The lowest they've made is actually 1 billion in cash. That is in 1 quarter. And then we have Google as well. And as you can see, Google is actually going up and down quite a lot. But what is really impressive, and that is where the spreadsheet comes in very handy, is that you see Facebook and Google, and the total of these 2 companies over the last few years, they made very similar gains in terms of cash. But Google is a much bigger company, and you would expect them to be able to generate more cash. That's why Facebook has got a much higher propension to make cash, which is incredibly important. And we're gonna have a look at the revenues later, because that is again another factor that is incredibly important for Facebook and Google. And then we have the competition, but the competition is like Snapchat and Twitter. And to be honest, no one can hold the candle to Facebook and Google. And so as you can see, this is Snapchat, and they cannot even make half of what Facebook and Google can make. Look at it. It doesn't even get higher. Just in the last quarter, they actually issued some debt, as you can see here, and that allowed them to actually make 1 billion in net cash. And Twitter, I'm afraid, it's really not doing very well from a cash perspective. And so this is Twitter, and as you can see, over the last 2 years, actually 3 years as well, they've only burned through cash. They actually made some cash over here, but that is mostly due to the debt being issued. So overall, they actually do not generate any cash at all. And later we're gonna have a look at the reason why this is happening. And in just 1 second, I'm gonna show you another secret about the cash generation of Facebook that will blow your mind. But just remember that this channel is about making money on stocks and crypto. So stick around if you're into that. And so cash generation is very important because it's a hedge against inflation. When inflation hits, it means that your cash is less valuable. But for companies making more cash, they'll still be able to afford to buy their goods and services. And investors like Warren Buffett would still prefer it compared to cash poor companies. And not only that, Facebook also sits on a ginormous amount of cash that is again more or less on the same level as Google. And as you can see on the screen, their level of cash is always more or less 17 to 20 billion dollars in the bank. And do not underestimate all this cash, because this is firepower that can become very useful when Facebook decides that it's time to expand even more and buy other companies, as they've done in the past. And so in spite of being very big, Facebook has got another trick up its sleeve, which is the second reason why Facebook is so strong: great revenue growth and also great EBITDA. And so this is the revenue growth for Facebook, and as you can see, it is incredibly high and never lower than 20%. This is incredibly high for a company that has already got very high revenues. That is compared to Google, and Google is again doing quite well, to be honest, for the size of the company, but it's now going way lower compared to, again, Facebook. They have very high revenues. That is why they're really struggling to grow, and Facebook still shines a lot from an EBITDA margin point of view. Look at that. It's never below 50%. There is a lot of margin, but there is one company that is holding the candle to Facebook. Yes, Snapchat. So not many know that Snapchat is actually growing a lot in terms of revenues. Look at that, 43, 45, and then in the future, looking at 2021, these are estimates, it will be over 50%. Just in 2020, they were able to become profitable. So this could be a company that in the long run will become a big powerhouse, but for the moment they are a bit more of a speculative play compared to Facebook. And Twitter is not doing quite well, I'm afraid. I mean, don't get me wrong, the revenue growth is there, but it's nothing compared to Facebook and the others. To be honest, as you can see, it's quite wavy. It goes up and down. So some years is up 24%, some other years it goes down 13%. They didn't do well during the pandemic. It's basically a company that really needs to find a better lead. And I will be making a special video on Snapchat because I think it can be a potential play for the future. I just need more time to do more deep dives, so stick around for that. And the third reason why Facebook has got an advantage is Facebook user dominance. Facebook has got an incredible amount of users. Just in the second quarter of 2021, they have about 3 billion users. That is just on Facebook. Then on Instagram, they have 1 billion. That is the latest figures I can find, and they are the biggest platform with more users that there is on this planet. And there is only one other platform, another competitor, that can only just be compared to them. And if you were guessing, yes, it's obviously YouTube that you're watching right now. They have 1.8 billion users, and that is obviously still comparable to Facebook, but there are far few. And don't even get me started on Snapchat. They don't even have 1 billion users. They are growing their user base. As you can see, they had a bit of a struggle in 2017 when they basically killed the platform, but then in the latest 2 years they've been growing quite consistently. I wouldn't expect that, and in fact that's why I'm gonna make another video on them, because I think that deserves quite a bit of respect. And again, Twitter is the next one we're gonna look at, and they're not doing very well. I'm sorry, Twitter fans, but these are the data, and as you can see, they had a very high growth of users. We're talking users in 2014, but then we just plateaued around 305 million users, and we've been dancing around that figure. We've now gone a little bit up, but they cannot seem to be able to become bigger, and that is what they absolutely need. And guys, you know that I'm big about valuations and things like that, and the fourth reason why Facebook has got an advantage is again the lowest valuation PE ratio of these companies. And so these are the PE ratios and all the competitors for Facebook. So Facebook has got 26 as PE ratio, Google has got 29, Snapchat 182, and then Twitter 66. So as you can see, Facebook of all the big competitors is the one with the lowest PE ratio, meaning they have more chance of growing even more. And at the eyes of investors like Warren Buffett and Michael Burry, they can think that this company is actually more appealing than their competitors. And guy, the fifth reason why Facebook has got an advantage is because Facebook is mostly a software company, which obviously is the same for the other Snapchat and Twitter, but at least they have very strong brands like Facebook and Instagram, and these two platforms are easily scalable and can lead to more money coming in without having to deploy more cash. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.